It's presentation time. Welcome to darkhoop.ndt. Are you excited to learn about our innovative ideas in the wood for musical instrument industry? If so, buckle up for this presentation. We'll delve into the captivating topic. But wait. Let's not spoil the surprise just yet. Stay tuned and discover the topic for yourself. Let's start that presentation.
String instruments are incredibly diverse in terms of sound quality. This diversity is due to a number of factors, including the type of wood and the shape of the instrument's soundbox. I want to talk to you about this today, starting with wood and the secret of sound. I am Professor Maran Runia, a specialist and enthusiast in research on the vibrational and acoustic properties of wood. You can contact me through the Instagram address on the right side of this slide. Wood's vibration and acoustic properties, including its stiffness and density, have a significant impact on the timbre of musical instruments. It also plays an important role in tuning and producing resonance. I have previously emphasized this in a book chapter with the same title that I authored for Elsevier in 2019. In the scientific world, the quality of sound is equated with the terms timbre or tone color. Timbre or tone color is different from pitch, or the highness or lowness of notes, and should not be confused with it. However, sound quality is an informal term that refers to descriptions such as brightness, thickness, projection, and many other ambiguous qualities of sound. Most of these qualities are very subjective in terms of both understanding and definition. However, it seems that most musicians within a musical style agree more with each other than others about what sounds good or bad. But even so, differences in taste have prevented them from reaching complete and general agreement. The quality of sound is associated with the wood used to make the resonator box of a musical instrument. Different types of wood have their own unique sonic characteristics, which are often subjective and based on personal preference. For example, it may be said that maple and spruce sound bright, while mahogany and rosewood are less bright, both in terms of sound and appearance. It may also be said that the saddle and nut can also affect the sound of a musical instrument's resonator. For example, a graphite nut creates a mellow attack sound, while a metal bridge creates a harsher, colder sound. Scientifically speaking, most of the ambiguous and subjective qualities of sound can be explained by the presence of harmonics in the sound wave of each note. Therefore, the frequency response range of a sound box is very important in terms of how many harmonics it can amplify and deliver to the listener's ear. Not every material, or even every type of wood, can be a good resonator for all harmonics in the desired frequency range. Every note emitted by the vibration of a string has a fundamental harmonic, which is tuned and adjusted on tuners to the frequency of this harmonic. The counting of the next harmonics continues indefinitely with the frequency interval of the bass note. However, the listener's ear or audio recording equipment hears only a limited number of them, which are within their hearing range in terms of frequency and loudness. Now, if one of these harmonics does not have this frequency interval from its previous harmonic, it is considered out of tune, or colloquially false. Pay attention to the frequency spectrum of the sound sample below, which was taken from the open first string of a classical guitar. After the 10th harmonic, a frequency error is clearly visible. This means that if we are sure that the string in this sample is free of defects and damage, the soundboard or wood used in it, or the shape and dimensions of the sound-producing components, have not been able to preserve the harmonic nature and frequency intervals of the vibrating string for the 10th harmonic onwards. The fast Fourier transform (FFT) frequency amplitude chart is sufficient to visually observe false harmonics, but if the exact frequency shift values of each harmonic are important, more precise equipment and software must be used. One of these software programs, called Sustain Tester, has recently been introduced to the world of musical instruments by our university team at the Darkhoop Knowledge Base Group. The results of falseness and/or frequency shift of each harmonic of each note of stringed instruments are measured with very high accuracy and reported in a single Excel table. Using this software is very fast and easy. You can also order a copy of this software to be installed and taught by our experts remotely on your computer. On the other hand, the combination ratio of loudness of sound harmonics, oscillation and decline, or persistence of the sound of each of the harmonics of a desired note in the time domain, in addition to the frequency response and multiplicity of harmonics, will create the feeling of sound or the mentioned sound character for the execution of that note. Recording these features and displaying them in the form of a harmonic spectrum can reveal the secret of sound. We are talking about the knowledge of ADSR, which was originally developed for electronic sound production, but today it has found its way into the sounds of nature, wood tap tone, and acoustic musical instruments, and is rapidly developing as an imported knowledge. Measuring the real impact of different materials, including wood or other materials, and the shape, size, and location of these materials on the harmonic composition, and linking them with the perceptions of the color and character of the sound can be very interesting and valuable. Therefore, it seems very necessary to shed light on a tool that can reveal all the hidden aspects of the mystery of sound production that have remained unknown in the darkness. From the moment the sound is produced until it is completely silent, there are four conceivable stages: attack, decay, sustain, and release, which come together as called ADSR envelope. Attack time is the amount of time it takes for a sound to go from silence to its maximum level. This parameter refers to the initial increase in the sound's amplitude at the beginning of a harmonic or single-tone sound. For example, the initial vibration of a guitar string reaches its maximum loudness after a delay in the wood of the soundboard. Each wood type and its associated vibrating string can have a distinct attack phase. Attack is a parameter based on the changes in sound loudness over time. In audio engineering, decay refers to the sudden decrease in the amplitude of a sound after it reaches its peak level. This is the amount of time it takes for the sound to go from its maximum loudness to a sustained level, which may be intrinsic or manipulated. It is the tail end of the sound between the initial attack and sustain phases. Decay, like attack, is a parameter based on the changes in loudness over time. In audio engineering, sustain refers to the continuation of a sound at a constant loudness level, or a gradual decrease in loudness that is relatively slow compared to the attack and decay phases. This portion represents the steady state, closed harmonic sound state, where the sound maintains its essential character before its final fade out. Sustain is a loudness-based parameter. However, the duration of sustain can also be important. In many musical instruments, you can control the sustain time by holding down a key or a string, or by drawing out the bow. But in percussion and percussive instruments, the amount of time that the harmonic sound lasts after it is played, or the gradual slope of its decline, is also important. The sustain that should be horizontal on a chart has a downward slope in percussion instruments. In such conditions, it may not even be possible to properly distinguish between the slopes of decay and sustain. Therefore, in this case, for stringed instruments, sustain must also be considered a parameter based on changes in sound level over time, like decay. The closer the sustain range on the chart is to horizontal, the longer the sound of that note or harmonic will last. Check out the diagram above. Since decay and sustain curves are usually curved, not straight, a logarithmic display is easier to understand. It shows you how fast the sound fades out. The Darkhube's sustain tester software can show you the attenuating rate of the sound, both in the decay or sustain ranges in a numerical format in an Excel spreadsheet next to the previously illustrated false harmonics, while the ADSR envelope is also demonstrated in charts. In audio engineering, release refers to the time it takes for a sound to die out after you release a key. This happens after the sustain phase. Decay is a similar phenomenon, but release specifically focuses on the controlled decrease in loudness that happens after the sound source is stopped. In electronic instruments, release happens when you lift your finger off the key. You can also visualize and simulate release in acoustic instruments. It's not easy, but it's possible to imagine. ADSR science was originally developed for electronic sound design, but it has since found its way into natural sounds, wood, and acoustic instruments. Today, We know that the type of wood, dimensions, and shape of a resonator each have their own unique fingerprint that affects the ADSR envelope of harmonics. However, our understanding of how wood species, carving and cutting techniques, or treatment can precisely and how it will create changes in the ADSR envelope of a sound reaching the listener's ear is still very poor. Therefore, with the tools available today and the visual identification of sound curves in the frequency, time, and amplitude domain, this is the starting point for research that will be able to synthesize the sounds that musicians and listeners love in an acoustic, not electronic way in non-electronic musical instruments. ADSR envelope is a powerful tool that can be used to shape and manipulate sound. Here are some of the different ways you can use ADSR to shape your sound. Create percussive sounds. Use a fast attack and short decay time to create percussive sounds like drums and snares. This technique is commonly used in electronic music genres like techno, house, and hip hop. Create sustained sounds. Use a slow attack and long sustained time to create sustained sounds like pads and strings. This technique is commonly used in ambient, chill out, and down-tempo music. Creating volume swells. By using a slow attack and a long sustained time, you can create volume swells, where the sound gradually increases or decreases in volume over time. This technique is commonly used in guitar playing. Creating plucked sounds. By using a quick attack and a short decay time, you can create plucked sounds like guitar and harp. This technique is commonly used in acoustic and electronic music genres. Creating staccato sounds. By using a short decay time, you can create a staccato effect where the sound is short and crisp. This technique is commonly used in electronic music genres like techno, house, and hip hop. Creating dynamic sounds. By combining different ADSR settings, you can create dynamic sounds that evolve over time. This technique is commonly used in sound design and film scoring, where the sound needs to match the mood of the visuals. In addition to these techniques, ADSR envelopes can be used in other ways to change sound. By experimenting with different settings and combinations, you can create sounds that are unique, expressive, and impactful. Thanks for being here. If you know anyone who might be interested in our new research on ADSR in wood and wooden sound boxes, please share this presentation with them. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at edarkubdandt. We're just getting started, but we're doing some really cool stuff. Stay tuned for our next presentation. Goodbye.